Hello, so I'm Laura Peruchi, and this is Let's Talk New York, a podcast to talk about living abroad and also about living in New York City. And as you already realized, today's episode is gonna be in English because our guest is not Brazilian. But I can assure you it's gonna be a very interesting and inspiring episode. So first of all, let's say hi to LJ Aguilo. Thank you so much for being here.
Very happy to be here. Very happy.
So first of all, I want to tell you guys how it's amazing to be in New York and you have the opportunity to connect with people with inspiring journeys like LJ. Because the funny thing is that I wrote an article about inspiring books about New York City because he has a book. And then he found out and he contacted me and we are here right now. LJ is the guy behind Why I Love New York City, a photo documentary about that New York City feeling, or as the famous single Billy Joel would say, the New York state of mind. Make sure to follow his amazing profile on Instagram. It's Why I Love New York City. His project is also a book with the same name. So if you love New York, definitely buy the book because it's going to be an amazing souvenir. Don't buy a I Love New York City t-shirt, please. Basically, Why I Love New York City brings pictures of New York taken by LJ, and he always has inspiring quotes about his love for New York City. So you're not going to find those cliche quotes about New York, like New York is the city that never sleeps. No, it's not like that. Everything is very inspiring, but you have no idea how this New York City love story has started. I was very surprised when I found out. So can you tell us a little bit about how your project, Why I Love New York City, was born? I mean, I know everything, but I think your project mixed it up with your story coming to New York. So can you tell us?
It's like an emotional ride every time I tell it because it's one of those things where when you're young, you always remember like all the events that you've gone through that hit your heart, you know. I think it was back in 2001. Okay. Met this girl back in my hometown in central Pennsylvania. Her name was Carla. Carla was this girl who I thought I was comfortable with. I don't know if I was in love with her. At the time I did when I was young, I thought I was in love with her because, you know, when you're young and you're with someone, you think you're in love, right? You think you'll get married, you think you'll have kids, have dogs in a house.
That's so silly, right?
Yeah, I mean it's not silly because I'll tell my kids the same thing when they'll do the same thing. They'll think they'll get married at the age of 12, 13, 14, but it was more like, you know, the love that I thought that the first love kind of.
How old were you?
I was 18 when I met her. We had actually had a long distance relationship from central Pennsylvania to Chicago. So I was like, I forgot, like 12-hour drive.
Wow. The
relationship that we had was, again, like we thought we're in love, but it was more so the comfort of knowing that we have somebody in our life. And I think that long distance kind of was ironically like a security blanket, right? Because when you're with someone who's really close to you in proximity, like if you're with me, I could have a lot of insecurities, like you're about to leave me, right? For another person, because I could see that look at other people, talk to other people. But with her, I think that if I didn't see her all the time, if I didn't see her talking to other people all the time, I would know, or in my heart, I would think that we're kind of, we have that control to know that we miss each other so much, we don't see each other. That's the type of relationship that we had, which we thought that was love. So that stretched out for like 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Wow.
And I was in love with her lifestyle, which is the city girl, right? She's from Chicago. She went to school at DePaul University. But whenever I visited her, it was always like, wow, she's a city girl. And it took me away from where I was, which was a town boy, like a town, like a farm area place. But throughout the 4 years, she always talked about how much she loved New York. New York to her was this, every cliche quote that you've ever seen on Google was that magical to her. She believed every quote. She's never been there. I think she's only been there once, but as a child, as a little kid. She always talked about New York. She always talked about how she was in love with it. And we always talked about how we would go to New York together and, live our life. Halfway through college, she broke up with me. She fell in love with another guy.
But you were in college in Pennsylvania.
I was in college in Pennsylvania. She was in college. She's a year before me, and she fell in love with another guy. Thinking you're in love, the world is ending for me, right?
Especially when you are young
and addicted to that feeling. Yeah, no one gets taken away from you. It's like candy getting taken away from baby, right? You don't know what to do with yourself.
Yes.
But when she took that away from me, she did it by sending me this CD. It was an artist from Joss Stone. I think it was her first record, because there was a song on there. It was called "I Fell in Love with a Boy." That was the song title of that CD. She told me through a letter to listen to that song, right? And to someone, at that point when she gave me the CD, she didn't break up with me yet. That was the point when she was going to, and that was the way she was going to do it. And I was listening to the song, and I was like, wow, she's really in love with me. And it took me like a while to understand that she fell in love with somebody else. And for me, I felt abandoned, alone, heartbroken. I would do the things that any person who felt abandoned would do, is to, I don't know, go out with girls, go out with my guys. It's not like I got drunk or anything, but I think I took relationships less seriously after that.
I think everybody does that.
I would think that nobody went through it but me. That's yeah. It's amazing how it happens to people, but no one thinks it happens to anybody else. I think years go by after that breakup, when I held on to that album, to that CD. I think I put it in the corner somewhere in my room, and got a job in New York right when I graduated. And I made the move to New York not for a job. I made the move to find her.
Because you were obsessed.
I wasn't obsessed. I think I was just a romantic, but it sounds like obsessive.
Yeah. But how long after she sent that CD you decided to move to New York?
About 2 years.
Wow.
So I haven't spoken to her in 2 years.
You really like her.
Obsessed is actually a really good word. I was overly romantic. I over-romanticized certain situations. I was obsessed with, I think, the fact that that we had no closure, because I became the irrational person. Long story short, I was the person who basically took away our relationship. We could have had a great friendship, but I took it all away because I was so angry.
Do you believe in friendship between two people that were like dating?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. You'll always have a connection with somebody. I mean,
okay.
Of course, some of the girls that I had bad relationships with, they don't have Facebook. We're not Facebook friends, but my wife still has good relationships with her exes. And I talk to them. Yeah, it's very nice, because I don't know why a lot of people would get uncomfortable, but you know what? If I were to be in that position where I'm really good friends with girls that I used to date, I wouldn't want my wife to be uncomfortable around that. So for me to be uncomfortable around that means that I'm controlling my wife. I don't want that. So I had to. That's just
fair.
Me. Yeah, that's just me. I don't want to control her. The only time I controlled my wife was, please don't smoke around me.
Okay, sounds fair.
Yeah, around me. That's the only time. But I went to New York to find her.
Did you date other girls?
Yeah, I dated like 3 or 4 other girls.
2 years?
In those 2 years, yeah. In those 2 years, I had, I think, long-term relationships with 4 girls, but I never was in love. I had times when they asked me if I was in love with them, and I still continued the relationship.
But you talked to her like after she broke up?
Nope. The 2 years after she broke up, that was the last I saw her. I haven't even spoken to her since. I came to New York to find her. I thought deep in my heart that she was here.
Makes sense.
I didn't know she was here. I didn't think she was here. I didn't even do a research where she was. I would just think that if she was here, I would run into her someday. So that's why I came here. That's why I took a job here. That's why I left my life back home. I didn't pursue a dream. I pursued someone else's dream, which was her dream. And that's why I came here.
But you never lied to yourself about it.
No. I just never told anyone I came here to pursue her dream.
But you knew it.
But I knew that I came here for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons I came to New York. I think that in a weird way that I thought it was the right decision to do something really wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, the way that things ended, it's like maybe it was supposed to be like that.
Even the day after, I knew it was meant to be. I was just so hurt that I just couldn't like calculate in my mind that what's gonna happen tomorrow, the day after, the year later. It's just, I thought that once I forgot about the pain, I'll just come to New York and just find her again. Long story short, I found the love of my life here in New York, West 57th Street. I could tell that story, but I think that's
yes. No, I think you have to tell this story.
Yeah, I'll tell this story. Okay, so this is part 2.
Yeah.
So that's why I came to New York. That's the story why I came to New York. Everything after that was never about her. It was all about me. So part 2 of the story, I was it was like a year later, and I was found the CD. Because when I packed for New York, I put everything in my bag, but I never really unpacked when I moved to New York. I just kept everything in like a box. And finally, a year later, I just started unpacking everything because I was finally settling down. I found the CD, started listening to it. The CD, fell in love with the boy, that song, number 5 or number 4 or number 5. I couldn't get past it because for some reason that was like the most painful feeling. I thought I would never have that sort of like mental that disadvantage on myself where I can't get past some sort of memory, right? But I did, which was that song. Can't get past it. I kept listening over and over again. And it's not like it physically, like I can't press fast forward. It's just I had no like, my heart just didn't want to. It's just like there's no point. I'll just stop right here because it hurts so much. I forgot about the relationship, but that day I unpacked, it brought it all back again. So I kept listening to it like a lot.
But it just keep like hurting yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the point of it. It was one of those things where I ever tried to like want to hurt yourself just so you feel something.
Yeah. You put some music that you know that you're gonna cry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah.
It was that.
Everybody does that.
Everyone does that, exactly.
Not
so
a
that was the way I
repeat.
did it. One day, let's see, it was after work. Went down the elevator and saw this girl. And she was listening to music on the elevator. She was smiling, but she was just smiling, closing her eyes on the elevator with her headphones in. And I was like, wow, she looks like she is a person just in love or just enjoys the city. I just looked at her because she was so happy. I've never seen happiness like that in a single moment. And I looked at her and I was like, wow, why can't I just be that in love with where I am at right now? Then all of a sudden she went to the subway and I went to the subway to Union Square, which is a couple blocks from where we're going right now.
Yes.
I remember the exact same spot where I was sitting. And I saw the girl coming out of the cab. I thought she went on subway, but actually I saw the girl 24 blocks south of where we both were. And she met up with a guy. She hugged him. And the way she hugged him was the same smile as she had in the elevator. And I was like, wow, she's probably in love. And I saw her grab his hand, hold it, and they just walked off into the sunset in New York. And it was one of those things, it was like, that's the type of love I should be in, right? That smile, the way she's in her space. But that wasn't the type of love I was in when I was with Carla. And that's when I realized, wow, that wasn't the type of love. I think when we were together, it's mostly trying to hold on to something rather than being let go. Because when you're in love, you're supposed to let go, right?
Yeah.
But I think her and I, when we had the 4 years together, we were just clinging on to all the emotions that we had. And that was the reason why, or at least the visual that I had was like, wow, that's really love, where you could just hold someone's hand, smile, and just let go of each other and just like realize that you're next to each other. That's all that matters. Like, you don't need to hold and cling on to each other. So I sat in the corner of, I think, 14th and Union Square North and Broadway. I sat on the rock and listened to the CD, the whole CD, like from first all the way through fifth. This is going to be something that I'm going to try to do, is go past that number 5. And I know probably people listening to this right now is probably like, just what's wrong with you? Just go past the song number 5 or go past that song. And I did. I felt dizzy, like lightheaded.
Wow.
Going past, I felt like I was cheating. I think when I passed that song, I felt like I was cheating on somebody. I was cheating on my feelings.
God.
I think I'm understanding it right now as I'm talking. I think I didn't want to move on from the feeling. That's probably why I didn't pass that song. And
because you like to hurt yourself. Like listening to that song.
Yeah. When I passed it, I just let go of so many feelings. Like the first 5.
It was freedom.
It was freedom, liberating.
Yeah.
Like my lightheadedness just like stayed light, like I was high on something. Sat there. I feel like I wasn't wasting any time on anything. I feel like I wasn't late for anything. I was having so much fun just sitting there and just having that feeling of just letting go of a lot of things in my life. And then when I say a lot of things, that one thing, it's just that one thing that weighted me forever. It just felt like 100 million things felt like it was gone because of that. Finally, I listened to the last song, which is For the Love of You. For the Love of You is like I think it was a remake of the Isley Brothers song from and I listened to that song, Joss Stone, For the Love of You, and it was just this slow melodic tune. As I was looking at the city, it was you guys had to just listen to the song to yourself. That was my song for my life. That mixed with seeing with that girl hugging the guy, holding his hand. From the time I met her, I was never in love with anybody, and I think I weighted myself down because I thought I was in love. I cheated myself from having real love from a lot of relationships because I felt like that first love was it.
That's so deep.
That was part 2 of the story. That's how it ends, is that liberating feeling in Union Square where I just, a million tons of negative, unloving weight just came off my shoulder.
You're getting ready to the real love, right?
Yeah. So this is part 3 now. I had this friend who had lots of friends, and I always went to parties. This story has nothing to do with first or second because there's no point of having that connectivity.
Yeah, but it's part of your story.
Yeah,
it's like everything that led to what happened, right?
Everything that led to what happened. But I saw this girl. Her name was Maria. Saw this girl like maybe for a straight year and a half at different places, different parties.
But you never talked to her?
Never talked to her. Like, never bothered me. But I always looked at her and I was like, she's so pretty. But I never... after a couple months of, a year and a half of seeing her, I think there was this one time at a party on West 57th Street. And that was the night when I was ready to like kind of give up on New York.
Oh, really?
I think I was ready to quit my job the next day. And it wasn't because of Carla. It wasn't because of the love in New York.
No, I didn't think it was because of her.
No.
But New York is not an easy city.
No, it was not. I was doing good. I think that it was just... That was a time when I was ready to quit and just ready to move on. And so I got drunk and...
Of course.
Yeah. I got drunk and I was ready to go home, paid my bill, took my credit card, my license, and my friends went to drop me off from Brooklyn. And halfway through the drive, I looked at someone called my friend on the phone and said, "Hey, did someone in your group take my license and credit card? Please let me know." And so we stopped the car and I looked at it. I was like, holy crap, I took his credit card and license. I was like, oh man, I'm the one that took it. So we drove all the way back to West 57th and 7th Avenue. And the guy was waiting for his license and credit card, and he had mine, I had his. And next to him, standing, was the girl who I've been wanting to meet for the past year and a half. Her name was Maria. I chose to come out the car, and I just said hi. I finally talked to her. I said hi, shook her hand, and then I got in the car and left. That's how my story ended. Because after that, I was like, I'm going after this girl. She'll remember. I was like, she'll remember me because of this story. And
because she was friend with the guy that
who became my best friend. And who became his best man at his wedding, and I told that story about how he gave me the best love story of my life.
And the rest is story, right? Okay. In your book, you tell this story. You finish the chapter saying, "And that's why I love New York City." So how did you start this project? How did you have the idea to start this project and the name and everything?
A lot of people say they love New York, but they can't give a reason, right? So I love New York in different ways. And then there's times where I don't, it's not like I hate New York. There's times where I could say, I love New York because of this. But after that, that's it. Like for you, like if I've known you for years, I'd say, I love you because you make me laugh. But do I love you because you're of your, the way you eat your corn? Right. New York is like that, right? That's because of that love story that New York gave me. That is why I love New York. Everything else about New York, I don't care about. New York gave me that. And that's all it gave me.
That was kind of like sad when I find out because like I love you. I follow you for a while. I don't remember why I started to follow your profile. Honestly, I try to remember, but it's like I don't remember why. But probably like I saw why I love New York City and the quotes, and I was like, oh, this is like so nice because I love New York. And then you told me like, yeah, I don't love New York, and I was like, oh fuck. Can't believe it.
Oh, okay. You want me? I'll get there.
It's like a fiction, you know.
No.
But don't worry.
No, I'll get there.
It's funny.
I'll get there. This is how it is. I mean, for anyone who's on Instagram or wanting to create a project, I mean, I went through the normal process. I mean, I sat down with my wife and I said, "This is what I want to do. I want to do a creative project about New York City. Why I love New York City. That's what I'm going to name it because I always see Google searches saying why they love New York City. And I always see the same quotes over and over again, right? It gets really annoying when you say it,
yes,
and then you have people saying it, but they've never really been to New York, and they act like they've been there.
Yes.
Right. If I were to do why I love New York City, I want to say it because I could say it right now, a small reason, and you know what? If someone doesn't believe me, no one can take it away from me because it's my feeling. But I want to put it so that it's presented nicely. It's presented on the internet, of course, and that people who come to New York can also share that feeling as well instead of having to go through the same cliche.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I created this project from a different perspective. New York is, I mean, why I love New York, that's what you see, right? But my wife has always been the person that makes me feel New York. So New York City is about my wife.
Is she a New Yorker?
Yes, she's from Queens.
Okay.
Every feeling that I put in that book, every sentence of why I love New York City has something to do with everything about my wife.
So that's how you got your inspiration.
That's how I got my inspiration.
You think about her, and then you like change it to a way to refer to the
New
city.
York. Yep.
That's nice.
So my wife actually one day when it was a year after I started a project, it was so not fitting the style that I wanted. And then my wife said one thing to me. She says, cater why I love New York City to women. In my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cater to you.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, if she loves the quote, it's because that's the way I feel about her. But I'll never tell her. I never told her straight this is why, because I don't want to make her feel a certain way for something, and because she already knows what the meaning of why I love New York City. If she loves the quote and she loves it because of what I said, my love letter to her every single time I post something, and she does. I mean, she knows it now, because of the book, because of the podcast, and of course, definitely the book. Whatever I say, it's about her. And you know what? If people do message me saying like, "This is not what New York is. This is not blah blah blah," but I don't tell people. I don't tell people why. I just said, this is a project. This is a project about my wife.
I can't believe people do that. It's like haters are everywhere, right?
I mean, honestly, I had a bad experience about New York, but I took the positives and just put it in this book.
Yeah, I mean, you're a very great example. You had everything to leave New York. You had all the reasons to hate New York because the person that you think you love it, she left you, and either way you came here. So the quotes, how is your creative process? I mean, so your wife is your inspiration, but you always show her the quote before you post it, or no?
Once every now and then. Maybe once every like 20 posts I would show her something because I was so excited to post it. Okay. But the others are just, let me see if once my wife sees it in a couple in 20, 30 minutes once she gets on Instagram.
Okay.
Since I have my child and full-time job and now I have a second child, and I love my life with my family and my creative projects it's not like they're taking a back seat, but they're just like now my outlet for my full time. It's just taken over a nice pace. And now it's just whatever I post is how I feel about you, and it's not like I'm not feeling it when I'm with you, and it's not when I'm posting, but I think that it just takes a toll when you do it so many times physically over and over again. And I want to do it when I'm feeling in the right space, in the right mind. For me, I think I'm finding my way again back to Instagram. And
how many quotes do you have? Do you know?
Over 1,000.
Wow.
But about like 40 of them have been repeats because I love the quotes. There's certain quotes that I recycle.
Always new people coming, following you. I mean, Instagram has it's not everybody that goes through all your pictures. So it's good to remember some quotes. I mean, so you know what? When I first like start to follow your profile, I thought, because you put a quote and you put like 57 and 7th Avenue, you put the location.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought that quote was from a person that you met at that location.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, but now I know that you take that picture at that location, so you put that location so people can, like, if you want to go to that location, I have a reference, right? And you put the quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like when you go to Google, right? Every picture that you see with a quote always shows the most cliche pictures in New York, like everything that you've seen. All the pictures, the normal pictures that you see. For me, it's like if I go just a normal place, like 8 blocks away from Empire State Building, I could have a small smidget of Empire State Building in the back and just like have that cross street just showing everything, and put that quote there. You could put a feeling into any cross street here in New York, because you know you're in New York. It's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Your feelings are already sold into it, right? You don't need the Empire State Building, World Trade Center to feel what you feel. You could feel it once I step outside. That's why I put the cross streets there. So if you look at the cross street and you're there, you know how I feel. You know how I felt about being there.
You had the opportunity to work with some really famous people because of your project, right? Mm-hmm. Guys, he worked with Meghan Markle and the cast of Suits, right?
Yeah.
How was your story with Meghan Markle?
One day I just commented on her post about her dog, and she just followed me, and all of a sudden the next day she took some of my pictures, uploaded it, and she fell in love with it. And we message each other every now and then, saying that her love for the city, and half of my followers are from her.
Now she doesn't have a profile anymore.
No, but I took screenshots of the posts that she put me in. So
yeah, good for you.
But the cast of Suits came after, because Meghan Markle, the stuff that she's promoted, the way she promoted me was very subtle. I think their PR and noticed it, and so they brought me out to Toronto, brought me on set. I was the only social media person there, and everyone else was, I think, from like New York Times, Toronto. I was the only New York person they brought out, so it was really special to me because my wife and I loved the show at the time. It's not like we didn't like the show, and I decided yes, we loved the show. The characters, I got to meet all of them, so I have all the pictures in my Dropbox.
This is something nice. I mean, because of your project, you get to connect with a lot of people and like be with the cast of your favorite show. Like you said, you used to watch the show. So it's nice, right? It's nice how internet can connect us to people that we never thought that we can meet, right?
I'm always thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because I worked with celebrities. I mean, the brands, if you're a photographer, you get to work with. But celebrities, the names that I've met, has been a great surprise in my life, especially with my wife, because my wife, she used to be a YouTuber, not anymore, but now she's happy with the stuff that she sees, what I do. It's more so her happiness comes first. So if she's happy with the stuff I do, I'm very happy too.
You are so romantic.
Thanks.
Your book, how the idea of publishing your book was conceived?
So I just got an email one day from a publisher from France, and
he was your follower, right?
He was a follower, yeah. I decided, hey, let's make a book. I think he just pitched it really fast. I thought it was a joke, so I didn't reply for a month. And then I looked at all my emails because I was cleaning up my emails, and I looked at it again, and then I Google searched who this person was. I was like, this guy's known as a publisher in France. So I sent back, and it's not like he got turned off because I didn't reply. He just came back in like 5 minutes and say, let's do it. I was like, oh, I thought you'd be turned off because I haven't replied to you in a month, but all right. So he came here to New York with his wife, and he showed me his ideas. We practically had the same idea, but I didn't want to make the book just quotes. I wanted to put my story in it. With my first girlfriend all the way to the love of my life, or first love all the way to the love of my life, and or else I wouldn't do the book. And he immediately said yes, because that's the way the quotes were crafted, is because of that story. And this book was just a culmination of a lot of times when I just sat with my wife and just looked at her and say, oh, I know what to say about you. And I remember why my wife was at the book signing party, and she just had smiles all over her face, and that was like the best day, not because of the books, because my wife's just smiling and talking to people. And I think she had more visitors than I did, congratulating because of her husband. I think it was easier to get to her. So I think people were like wanted to meet her because people started reading the book and they were like, this is about you. And I was like, that was my goal that day.
Yeah, she was probably like feeling like so happy.
Yeah,
and people like, oh, this is about you.
Well,
yeah.
Here's the funny thing: the publisher chose October 5th for the release party. That was her birthday.
Oh my god!
They didn't even know it, so that was her birthday present. But actually, you don't know this. I don't think anyone really knows this story, so I'm gonna add something into it. So Joss Stone CD, right? One time there was this person that reached out to me, wanted to be part of, put her story in, and I saw her. I met with her in like 6th Avenue and like 32nd Street. We took pictures and she gave me her story. And she goes, "Oh, you should meet my husband. He used to write Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. I don't know if you know that song. It was an 80s song. So I met him at the bar close by. And I said, oh, this is so awesome. I get to meet the person who played with Cyndi Lauper, sang with her, was in the music video, who wrote that piece." And I asked him, "So who else did you work with?" You probably know. He worked with a couple artists, and the one artist that he worked with was Joss Stone.
Wow.
Soul Sessions Volume 1 CD.
That CD?
That exact CD.
Oh my god.
I told him, like, you worked on that CD, that specific CD. That CD was the reason why all the hurt in my life became the best feelings in the world. Like, I think I lost my breath for like 20 straight minutes to an hour just talking to him about how I just fell in love, not because of the albums, because of the feelings that album gave me. Everything happened because of that. And I hugged him. I held on to him for like, I think like a minute. And I said, "Thank you so much." And I just remember crying in front of him.
Wow.
Best day of my life, where I was right there.
Wow.
And I thanked him so much. And I think you're the second, besides my wife, you're like second or third person who's ever heard that story.
Okay, that's amazing. You know what? That's why I love New York City.
Yeah.
There you go. Because of those connections, it's like, it's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. New York brought me.
This is one of the reasons why I love New York. Like for me, when I was a teenager, I was like a Hanson fan. And
I was just listening to Bop today.
Really?
Yeah.
I was a fan of Hanson, and I was like living in a town, very small town, and I went to Brazil, and I asked my parents to go to the concert. It was very far away. There was no way that I could go, and I was like, okay, I'm never gonna have a chance to see Hanson. And then I moved to New York, and then I went to 3 concerts, and I remember the first concert that I went, and I was there, like, I just had a movie in my head, like the 13-year girl, like, yeah. I wish I could tell her, like, okay, wait for it, you're gonna attend the concert. And like, I went 3 times actually, but I never ever dream about it. So to finish, I'm gonna open the book, and I'm gonna choose some quote, like, and I don't know which quote, and you tell me a little bit about this quote.
Sure. I mean, I've never done this before, but yeah.
Okay, let's try. Okay. So page 95, chapter 4, 12 Hours in Union Square. People never forget 2 things: their first love and their first day in New York.
Okay, so it's amazing that you picked that one, because that is the culmination of this whole story.
Yeah, that was, I swear that I didn't.
You should just end it right there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Does that I don't need to explain anything. I think from the beginning, this whole thing started. You know, when you picked up that book, in my head, this was my thought. It was like, if this was meant to be, you're going to pick up something, you're going to take a quote that would be the most meaningful out of the whole thing.
Okay.
I told my wife when I made that quote, I said, I don't mean it to talk about my first love. I don't mean it to think about my first love. I meant it because your first love always brings you to a place where you are today. Because of her, I wouldn't be with her, with my wife.
Yeah.
Without her, I wouldn't have a book. Without her, I wouldn't have this happiness, the 2 kids, my beautiful children. I wouldn't be in this friendship, and this podcast with you, right? I would be probably in Pennsylvania, just be soaking up life and thinking that I should have came to New York.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna choose another quote.
Yeah, I think
that's enough. Yeah.
Out of all the pages, you picked the right one.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
I mean, I hope that people like it. So don't forget to follow him on Instagram, Why I Love New York City. Send me a message and tell me what you think about it. If you are inspired by this story, you want to add something?
No. I mean, I poured my heart into this whole interview, so there's nothing else. I don't want to. There's no way to top it just by saying thank you for having me.
Okay.
It was really real pleasure to retell the story, but dig into a lot of stuff I never thought of before. It just came.
Yeah, thank you for the CD story. It was an extra.
Yeah, well, when I told that story, I was like, why would people want to talk about CD? But you know what? It's about my life. And then all of a sudden, when that happened, meeting the person who basically helped produce that CD.
Yeah. So thank you guys, and we talk in the next episode in Portuguese, probably. Bye.
Thank you.